Okay, brilliant. Okay, here we are. As some of you, Bertie, you can't really be seen there. You can come a little bit further. There you go. As some of you may know, today is National Bee Day. And bees, yeah, it is. Who knew? Bees are one of my favourite animals in the whole wide world. I think bees are amazing in every single way. And we're going to do a little bit of bee stuff. It would have been Rue on the farm today with her little baby calves, but sadly couldn't do it today. But hopefully next week she'll be back and raring to go. So, first of all, a lot of people think of bees just as honeybees, but my actual favourite are bumblebees, and there are loads of different types of bumblebees. And my favourite bumblebee, yes, well, we call it the red-bottom bee, but it's actually the red-tailed bumblebee.
Oh, I didn't.
And all bumblebees start their official scientific name with the word bombus, which I really like. And they're big and fluffy. They're basically like bears, little bears that fly around, they're all fluffy. So,
we've got that book called Air Bears.
Sky Bear.
Yeah,
yes.
Sky Bear. Yeah.
So, just to ping over any questions you've got about bees, and I will try and answer them. I'm not a total expert, but I do like them. I do like them. So that I don't keep them here for much longer, I went out into the garden and I caught some bees. And so I thought I would just show them to you close up, and I don't want them to be here for any longer than they need to be, so I'm going to let them out in a second, outside. But it gives you a little bit of an idea of what they look like.
We've got one of those thin ones there.
Yes, so this here is a honeybee, and it's actually a very special type of honeybee because it lives in the roof of our house, and it's
kind of making a lump
very
in
special.
The roof.
Hang on a sec, let's see, if we put that up against that, it might be a bit easier to see him. So, there he is. They're the ones that are a bit, they're the ones that are a bit skinnier than normal bees, or the bumblebees. And look, I'll just show you up here onto Instagram, can you see, there, he's looking a bit annoyed, and then Facebook.
Why don't we just let him go now?
There you go. So, look, Lottie and Rory are saying hello. Hi. So we're going to let the honeybee go, and they're very special, those honeybees. I will tell you a little bit more about them. I'm just going to let it out of the window. There he goes. And I also managed to catch a small bumblebee.
Not as big as they get.
No, but a little one. So here is a little bumblebee. For those of you,
he's got nectar on him. Yeah, he's got little.
If you look really
pollen
carefully,
sacs on him.
That's right, Bertie. On his back legs, he has something called pollen sacs. And if you look really carefully on this one, you might just see a little yellow blob on one of his back legs. I keep saying he. They are all female. Most of the bees that you will ever see are female. So this one here, she has got, look there, you can see the little yellow bit, and that's a little bit of pollen on her pollen sac. So I'm going to pop
I think we should let her go to pollinate that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so out that one goes. Okay, she has gone.
We have
that's a little, hold on, so that's a little a live demo. We also found, very sadly, but you do find them around,
that's a big one. That's
bumblebee.
That's
a bigger one, and I'm pretty sure that's a buff-tail bumblebee. So they've got their little
that's a good name.
Buff-coloured bottom.
Yeah.
And they're very furry and really quite lovely, but you shouldn't pick them up. Because
once
sometimes
Bee picks them, and she got a little sting on her thumb.
Indeed. So, a few little facts. Ooh, is that a little question? That's just, yeah. Okay, excellent. A few little facts. Have a little guess. Actually, Bertie and Ottie, you can do this too. And write in the comments. In the whole lifetime of a worker honeybee, roughly how much honey do you think she makes? One of those little honeybees. What do you reckon? You can pop it in the comments if you can think of it.
10 gallons.
10 gallons, that's a lot.
Okay, not as much as that.
What do you reckon?
10 squillion.
10 squillion? No, one single honeybee in its whole lifetime, she is likely to create less than a teaspoon of honey. With all that buzzing around. Buzz, 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 buzz. Here's another one. A kilogram pot of honey, which would probably be about this big. Delicious. I love honey. Takes obviously a lot of bees to make it.
A lot.
How far do you think the bees that have made a kilogram of honey would have to fly to get all of the nectar? Any ideas? It is 3 times around the world equivalent. That's a lot of air miles. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you. I've also been around the garden because we have been around. Wait. As well as all of the lovely honey, what bees do, all of those female bees who you see flying around, what they do is they go to the flower and they're going to the flower to collect nectar, which is what they turn into honey. Hang on. Pop that down. Just wait a sec. I've just got to explain it first. A teaspoon. I know. Would you believe it? So, bees, when they set off, they're going flying to the flowers in order to try and collect nectar, and they have a curly tongue called a proboscis, which they curl out, stick into the petal, into the middle of the flower to collect as much nectar as they can and bring it back. But the flowers use that, and they make sure that they get pollen onto the bees' feet or their backs or wherever, so that then they can pollinate all the other flowers of their species.
That had, yellow on its leg.
Exactly. So sadly, some of these petals have fallen off, but hold on, I'm just going to show you. So in a simple example, in this flower, you can see that in the top there's something called the stigma, and then the little ones called the anther. And basically the bee comes in, rootles around, looks for a bit of nectar, and then it gets dusted with the pollen from these little stalky bits. And this is quite a simple one, but the really cool ones are, look at this.
So they walk into there, and then that covers them in pollen, and then those little hairs there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they...
Well, it's actually this way up, and it works a bit like, the colours there look a bit like a landing strip. So that's for the bee. The bee can see that, and she flies in and crawls all the way in, because it's a nice long flower, and the nectar's all the way over here. So the bee has to crawl all the way through to get to the nectar. And if you look rather sneakily, on the top there, inside, is the bit with the pollen on, the anther. And so the bee sneaks in, and loads of pollen gets dusted on its fluffy, furry back. And then when it goes into another one, it pollinates the next flower. And that's the most important thing about bees for us. It's not the honey. It's the fact that they're going around the world pollinating all of the food plants that we eat.
Do they know they're pollinating
No, they don't know that. So if there weren't bees, we would have far less food to eat. Everything you think of, all of the tomatoes in the world, loads of the fruit, loads of the vegetables, lots of the stuff that makes flour, all sorts. And so bees are super duper important. Butterflies do it. Yeah, lots of insects do it.
Yeah.
This is another amazing looking flower. I don't even know what it is, but it looks pretty cool. And that has evolved in time with the bees. So the bees go in there, they get their proboscis, try and get the nectar, and they get dusted with all of this pollen when they go to the next one.
Picture this.
We could do a bit later on. That's a really good app, by the way. It's called Picture This. And you just take a picture of any flower and it tells you what the plant is.
Or plant.
Yeah. So, this, as you know, okay, we're going to do one more thing before I do my favourite thing. We're going to do a very quick, super duper easy bee hotel. So, for all of you guys, wherever you live, doesn't matter if you're in the city, if you're in the country, probably not very good in Antarctic because there aren't any bees there, but anywhere else in the world, you can make your own little bee hotel. So, first things first, get yourself a plastic bottle. I've already chopped off the two ends.
Do you think there's any internet in the Antarctic anyway?
Probably not. Have to use sat phones. Yeah. Chop the ends off. Chunk, chunk. Then stick a couple of holes in. Bomp, bomp. Stick a piece of string in, so now you've got something to hang it on. And then you just need to collect up a load of sticks. Okay, I've just got pretty standard sticks. In an ideal world, they would all be or have some hollow bits. So here I've got a bamboo, also buddleia, which is something that bees love. When that's old and rotten, it all goes hollow. Then, clump them all together. This is just the easiest one to make. Stuff it in, fill it all the way up. If you're doing it carefully and properly, you should really make sure that the sticks are a little bit shorter than the bottle, because otherwise these will get all wet and start rotting. But for one summer, it should be fine. And then you can stuff a few more in so it gets really tight. And then you can hang it up anywhere, on a windowsill, in a garden, wherever you like. And with a bit of luck, the bees will love it. And they'll go and rootle in there. It's probably more bumblebees than honeybees, but still lovely to have them in your garden.
Is this for a beehive?
No. This is just a bee hotel, a place for bees to hang out. Okay. And for bumblebees to set up little nests.
I thought you meant it's the start of their hive or something.
No, not usually hives. No. Now, this is what we're talking about. Does anybody know, Bertie did just say it, so it's a bit of a clue, but does anybody know the name given to the way that bees tell all of their friends where the best nectar is in the garden? Stick it in the what do we call it? Comments, if you can think of one. Good clue, Artie. I'll give you a clue. It is the waggle dance. Now, the waggle dance is, in my eyes, probably, apart from how caterpillars turn into butterflies, which I think is the most magical thing in the world, I think the waggle dance is up there. Now, it's quite difficult to explain. Basically, when a worker bee flies off from the hive, now what are we going to use as the hive? I think we will pretend.
Okay, let's say this is the hive.
Okay, perfect.
Hive.
This bottle is the hive. Stick it on the table. Okay, so imagine, and this foxglove, which is a type of flower, is the most fantastic source of nectar that they've managed to find in the garden. And we're going to put that just over here. Okay, yes, you can be that source of nectar. So Bertie is the source of nectar. What about Artie, you nutter? Okay, and Beth has suggested it's a bottom dance, nearly. And so what happens is a worker bee. Do you want to be the worker bee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Comes from the hive, here, and just goes on a little bit of a forage looking for some nice nectar. So go over to Bertie, wiggle your bottom and flap your wings. Flap, 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 flap. Over you go. Okay, quick. Go and test. And then come back to hive. Okay, now, this is all very well, but this little worker bee has got to tell everybody else in the hive that that's the best place. And she's able to tell all of them the direction that the flowers are from the hive, how good the source of nectar is, and exactly how far away it is. And the way she does it is by doing a figure of 8 waggle dance. So, just a second. So, Artie, you need to wiggle your bottom and then fly around in a figure of 8. Like this. Okay? And the faster she wiggles, the better the honey is. The distance that the waggle dance goes on for tells them the distance away it is. So, let's say they wanted to say, here's the hive. Let's say that it was half a kilometre from here to those flowers. That would be about half a second of wiggling. Okay, so let's just put my bee goggles on. Oh, you want to put them on? Okay, you have those bee ones. I'll have these ones on.
No.
Oh, you want those on? Okay, so let's say I fly out, have this lovely nectar, come back to my hive, and I want to say that it's really good and it's half a kilometre away. I've got to go and then come back and come back and come back. And amazingly, all of the other bees in the hive can look to see exactly where that nectar is. You can come back now if you like, and come back. So, everybody, look out for your bees. Look after your bees. Oh, one final little thing. If you want to do a bee rescue, if you see a bumblebee like this, who's not dead, but is crawling around on the pavement, grass,
Run out, run.
Wait, and doesn't look very happy. You say.
Run inside to your kitchen. Get a tiny wincy drip of water. If you can, you should use pipettes, and then add a bit of sprinkle of sugar into it, and then give it to the bee. Because that's just like nectar.
So that bee, if you see a bee crawling around looking pretty unhappy, they've run out of energy and they just need a little boost of sugar water. So you put a little puddle of really sugary water just near them, and you'll see them. Firstly, they'll slurp it up, they'll put their proboscis out and suck it up. Then you'll see them wriggling around, start warming up their flight muscles in their wings, and then whoom, off they go.
Like hummingbirds, they're high energy birds.
Yeah.
And they move bees.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah.
So thank you very much everybody for watching. We do these nature packs. So if you go onto the Sharky and George website, you can order a nature pack, and it's got things how to make bird feeders, bug hotels, all sorts of cool stuff.
I've made a bird feeder.
Well, there you go.
I wonder if there's any birds in it.
Who knows? So have a look on those, and otherwise we'll see you tomorrow at 4:30 for some more excellent shenanigans. Tomorrow is probably is it science? Yes, I think it's going to be science experiments. Anyway, hopefully see you at 4:30 tomorrow, and thanks so much for listening. Bye.